Hi everyone, my name is Taylor. I work here at Random House in the marketing group. And today I'm going to be joined by Porscha Burke, who is an editor at Convergent, one of the Random House Publishing Group's imprints. While we wait for Porscha to join us, I'm going to quickly pin a comment to the top here so everyone who's tuning in can follow along. And we'll get Porscha with us shortly. So we're going to be talking about Porscha's role as an editor, and some of the literary icons that she's worked with. So feel free to start asking questions using the little question box down at the bottom, and we can try to answer some of those throughout. I'm just going to check and see if we have Porscha here. She might just need a minute. Yeah, so we'll just give her a second. But feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments. I want to see where you're tuning in from, what you've been reading. Let's see if we have Porscha here. Hi.
Hi, Taylor.
It's so good to see your face after.
It's so good to see you too.
2 months now.
I know.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm good. I have so many questions. I feel like I see you in the office all the time, but we never really talk about some of your work.
No, because we're too busy talking about work that needs to get done.
Exactly. Do you want to start by telling us all a little bit about your job at Penguin Random House?
Sure. So let's see, my current job right now, I am a senior editor and publishing manager. So I both have acquisitions responsibilities. I'm acquiring for our progressive Christian team, Convergent, and also for Clarkson Potter right now, because what we've done is develop a line of inspirational gift products. So journals, meditation cards, that kind of thing, with a heavy Christian bend, because we have that part of our publishing program. And then because I'm a hip hop nerd, I've been really excited to work with the Potter team on doing some pop culture heavy stuff. So I get to do that. And then as publishing manager, I have a pretty administrative role in helping us develop the processes to bring all of those books and products into the world. I've been in that job for almost exactly a year, but of course, you know this. I've worked at Random for 16 years now, with the bulk of my time there being both splitting editorial duties and supporting our amazing president and publisher, Gina Centrello, whom I love and miss every single day. That's what I do.
Yeah. What's so fascinating about your role is that you have your hand in so many different buckets and really are involved in so many different pieces of the publishing process, which is fascinating. Do you want to tell us how you first got your job in publishing and kind of how you've developed your career?
Yeah, so pardon this answer. It makes me laugh. I hope people find it funny, but how I got into book publishing was simply prayer. I was working in the music business. I was working for a hip hop label, sending love to all my people who are in the music biz. And I did that, but it was clear that I wasn't going to ascend through the ranks. Like, I was an assistant. That was what it was going to be. So I prayed. I was like, what is my purpose? What am I here on the earth for? And the answer was twofold. It was, one, my purpose is to connect people who are writers, who have something very important to say, right? A critical message to share with the world, with the audiences who need that. That was very clear to me. What's my gift? Well, I'm an administrative person, right? I've been an assistant for a really long time, even at that point. And I'm also a grammar nerd, right? So how can I bring those things to bear in a single job where I'm going to be helpful and useful and of service? And the answer was Random House. And I was like, really? Okay, I'm gonna follow that. And I applied every single day for about 6 months, between 4 and 6 months. I just sent my application for anything, and only at Random House, right? Like, it was such a clear message. So I applied every single day for whatever job I thought I was qualified for. And ultimately, in April of 2004, HR called me, and I just went in. I had no idea what the interview was for. I just went. And it turns out that Gina was looking for an assistant to replace her longtime assistant of 6 years at that point. And when she interviewed me, she told me this is what the job is. And I remember looking at her like, that's it. Like like assistant stuff, you gotta make calendar appointments and handle phone calls and whatever. But I've been doing that in music under great duress. Like I had to be on call at like 2 a.m., And in book publishing, she's offering me all of that, but like from 9 to 5 with summer hours, and I get to be a book nerd. So that's how I got started. I did that job as best I possibly could. I was eager to, again, help everybody. I'm now in this space where I can be of service to the content curators. If that's Kate Medina needs somebody, Kate Medina, who's the Pulitzer Prize basically editor. She's acquired from Sean Meacham to Isabel Wilkerson to Afia Adekora right now. Kate Boo, Behind the Beautiful Forevers. I mean, Kate is that person. Yeah, Kate, I'll answer your phones. I'll schedule meetings for you, whatever that is. Bob Loomis, sure, Bob, I'll answer your phones. That might mean a couple of things, like I get to talk to Maya Angelou. I'll do it, And so I did that job as best I could. And ultimately, Gina moved me into editorial after 3 years. And then my career just kind of moved on from there.
Yeah, so I want to come back to some of those names that you just mentioned. But first, do you want to tell us a little bit about what your job as an editor looks like and what some of that work entails?
Ooh, okay. So one of the things about being an editor that is very different, I think a lot of people assume editorial jobs include a lot of writing, and certainly coming from music and thinking about magazine editors, where, an associate editor for a magazine is definitely responsible for churning out content, right, that they have to come up with. An editor in book publishing, no, actually you're part administrative, certainly when you're entry level. So you're managing contracts and helping to, well, when I started, printing out manuscripts, which doesn't happen anymore. But, you have that kind of the process of making a book is what you're responsible for. And then as you grow, you're really helping to shape text. So your authors are giving you more than one draft and you're in a collaboration with them. Again, helping them to be very crystal clear about what their objectives are for this book, and then helping them to craft that in a way that's going to have the strongest resonance with their audience ultimately, but also in-house, right? I'm sorry, someone distracted me with an Oxford comment, and the answer is, of course. And that is something I learned as soon as I started working at Random House, because it's Random House style. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing, though, that I get to do as an editor, and it makes me really happy. So you are really, again, helping writers just bring out the best in their work, and then also responsible for being that book's champion in-house. You have to be passionate about your book each step of the way and help to generate equal passion for everybody who's going to be a point of connection for readers going forward. So yeah, that's heavy reading, a lot of homework, which if you would have told my high school teachers I'd be doing homework every day, they would have laughed. It is what it is. There's heavy reading, but there's also, especially now, there is heavy social media interaction. I was on Twitter. Twitter remains, no offense to Instagram, my favorite social media platform. Why? Because it's word-based for the most part, and it's writers in conversation with each other. That's where we're going to see what writers are talking about, what other issues, what news issues writers are talking about, and sharing those links, other book ideas, seeing what readers are passionate about. So you're doing that kind of temperature checking against the culture as well, and then doing whatever your bosses need you to do when you are reporting. This is the first time in my life that I haven't reported to a boss whose work I needed to help them do, right? I'm still not clear on how I'm supposed to
figuring some of that out.
Very much so.
Well, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is Random House Live with Porscha Burke, a senior editor at Convergent, which is an imprint in the Random House group. And we just heard a little bit about what Porscha's role as an editor means. But Porscha, I saw a question earlier that was asking, what are some of your favorite parts of the job? And then also perhaps some of the most challenging as well.
Okay. I'm going to save the challenging ones so I don't get in trouble.
Fair enough.
So the most exciting parts of my job right now are my gift product stuff. So, I'm a journaler, right? I've been a journaler since I was a preteen for sure. And being able to help craft spaces, especially in moments like now, where people can nurture their own literary gifts, right? But alongside really impactful text at the same time. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to help diversify our content, especially on the pop culture gift product space. Um, so the conversations, like I get to be in meetings where we're talking about, do we add a ribbon here, or do we have to have a die cut space, or are we going to do some kind of special effect on a cover? And that might seem like, well, where's the grammar nerdiness in that? But when I realize what I'm doing is helping, again, create more space for people to develop their own inner grammar nerd, and then pulling quotes from other books of ours, other titles on our list. It's just so fascinating to me. I really geek out over it. And I pinch myself in some of those meetings because I can't believe this is what I get to do for a living. On top of that, again, for some of the inspirational content that I'm working on, I just acquired my gosh, I still kind of can't believe it. I get chills when I think about Candace Benbow. But Candace is a theologian and essayist. She's a pop culture writer, writes for Essence, but she's really writing a collection of autobiographical essays really around Black womanhood identity, and how that dovetails with both the uplifting that you can experience in church, but also the oppression that so many Black women have experienced in church. So I get to do that. And then at the same time, I get to work on a hip hop queen's oracle deck with Kathy Iandoli, who is one of the premier music journalists of our time. Like, these are the things I get to do. And I don't know if you can tell how excited I am about it, but I'm almost breathless because I'm hyped about them.
Well, I think that's what makes our work so special, is how passion driven it really is. And I love that you're able to kind of explore all of your different passions through one job, be it the hip hop, be it the Christian faith. It's really incredible to listen to you talk about. And speaking of that, I also wanted to ask about what some of your literary icons are. I know that you worked on John Meacham's book earlier this year, which was an instant New York Times bestseller. Can you talk about some of those people in your life?
So, okay. I have to start with Dr. Angelou. And yes, I do refer to her as Dr. Angelou. I do not, if I have to refer to her as Maya Angelou, that's just like because I had to, like, first introduction in a paragraph situation.
Those grammar rules.
Yes, exactly. Dr. Angelou is someone I had the honor of meeting by phone first in 2007. Again, just answering a phone call for her editor at the time. And then she complimented me on my speaking voice. And it was, again, like, I can't say that story without crying, because it's like, she's like, "You have a beautiful speaking voice, Ms. Burke." And I was like, "Dr. Angelou, like, you have a beautiful speaking voice. Like, why are you doing this?" And from then we just hit it off. And when she delivered her second cookbook, Bob Loomis invited me to edit that for her because I was editing cookbooks at the time. And in that summer, so that was the summer of 2010, she would call me because she was doing her edits by phone. And she would call me to go through the edits for that second book, Great Food All Day Long. And she was just telling me stories as we went, stories about cooking for a family, stories about dinner parties, stories about her mom, and just how important food was as a centerpiece and a connection point for so many different people in her life. So that once Mr. Loomis, may he rest in peace, I still haven't fully processed the fact that I have to talk about Bob in the past tense. She invited me to be her editor full time. And so then from 2011 until she passed away in 2014, that was my author. So I got to talk to her frequently. I got to have dinner around the table with her and her son, Guy Johnson, whom I get to be in touch with regularly. We played Boggle together. It was awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome. So she's like up here. Then there is Toni Morrison, of course, whom you can't see my bookshelf here, but I sit with a copy of the Black Book near me pretty much at all times on any shelf where I am. The Black Book, Ms. Morrison edited when she was at Random House as an editor in 1973. We reissued in 2009. So in order to get her blessing, I had to reach out to her. She sent me a beautiful note granting me her blessing to do the Black Book, and then we got to do some publicity together. I got to accompany her to an NPR interview, which was again like a breathtaking moment. So there's Miss Morrison, and then I mean, obviously my hero, like you guys who are in this biz with me know Gina, but I can't have a literary world icon and not mention her as well. I hope she's not mad at me for that. And then our friend John Meacham, whom Gina and I share. John was an executive editor and VP at Random House for a little while, and during his stint with us, I took on, like, again, like you do the job that's presented to you, right? Especially if it's being presented to you because they believe in your ability to succeed. So they asked me to assist John while he was on the road, and I was like, bring it. So then that brought like the Secret Service level distinction to my work. And so that relationship was beautiful. I was able to rely on John for a recommendation letter when I went to grad school, and really just developed a rapport so that when John wanted to move into the Christian space, and I had just started working at Convergent, he invited me to be his editor. He and Gina said, you know what, we think, and my publisher there, Tina Constable, said, yeah, Porscha, it's ideal for you to do this kind of book, a nice short, gifty hardcover. That I got to help John bring into the world and brought me to the New York Times bestseller list for the first time. John's already been there, done that. And then those are, you know, like literary, like I can't say top shelf or not, because then Chris Jackson, whom I've had the honor to work closely with, brainstorm with, talk to. If it's not about Ta-Nehisi, then Chris and I get to talk about hip hop together and talk about, I mean, Chris also a huge champion of the Black Books, why it's in print again now. So I've gotten to work with him and the entire team that he's built at our new One World with Nicole Counts, Victory Matsui, whom I miss, Elizabeth Mendez-Berry, who was just started and I haven't gotten to sit with her. I'm really upset. And so there's that lane as well, just the Benjamin Dreyer, I mean, just the colleagues that I get to sit amongst every day.
Or Zoom with now.
Yes, or Zoom with now. Thank you, Taylor.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I was hoping that you could share just a couple words of advice for any aspiring editors or writers out there before we go.
Okay. Aspiring editors, may the force be with you. Keep going. You know what I mean? Like, be very crystal clear on what motivates you to be in this business, and then don't be afraid to be singular in your pursuit of that thing. You know, passion makes a difference in this business, especially as editors, and being able to speak smartly about what it is that you want is an exceptional resource you'll carry with you, and people will respond to that. If you are an aspiring writer, so if you're an aspiring novelist, finish the novel, period. If you are an aspiring writer of nonfiction, do your outline first and then start to develop ideas based on that outline, and be, no matter what, very crystal clear on who the audience is for your book as best you can. Again, novelists, I get, like, you're not going to think about audience until very far at the end of your process, because you just need to get these stories out. But if you are writing nonfiction, you need to be very clear about who you need this to be sold to, because that's going to help direct your search for an agent. Yes, you do need one. Excuse me. It is going to impact how your agent helps pitch you to their publishing partners. The only instance where I would say you wouldn't need an agent is if you're just looking to self-publish. And even then I recommend you make some friends or reach out to the Authors Guild to help you really navigate a self-published process. But you need someone with you who can be an advocate for you. See agents as that. Don't see them as, you know, kind of annoying people in your pocket or even gatekeepers to gatekeepers. No, they're advocates for you. They are here to help you reach the editorial audiences, help match you with the right publisher who can connect your book with the audience you need, because not every publisher equally hits each audience. And the way that you secure an agent, so the internet is a beautiful tool. Are we allowed to talk about certain websites that we use here, Taylor? Because I don't want to like gear toward one or another, but if you Google, no, I won't do that. I won't say that, but there are some spaces online. If you look at some interviews with me, like if you Google my name and literary agent search, you'll probably see where I've mentioned that in some articles, some more specific sources. But they're out there. The number one thing though is be very clear on your agent's rules for submission. Your agencies will list that. Missteps in the submission process is how you won't get read.
Yeah. Well, this was such a pleasure and so helpful. It was incredible to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Good to see you, Taylor. Thank you.
Of course. Bye, guys.
Bye.